Rainy and cold. Fort Mill. Thanksgiving's in a week, and Monday's the great notification day for Sundance. And we've got our feature film premise in consideration. Such a little part of me thinks we'll get in just because of the math, and because, as a statistically oriented brain, poker player, I think of the math. And I think there's no way we could get in. But you just can't help get excited and start to build up anticipation. So I'm trying to mentally prepare for the rejection letter that I've gotten plenty of times in the past from short films. Never had a feature in consideration. But you can't help but just hope. Some hot coffee. As promised, I got a couple topics I need to expound on. Directing actors. I come at this as both a director of actors and as an actor who has been directed. As I've said before, acting was my first passion. I was thrust onto the stage as a kindergartner and started choosing it as a second grader and chose it ever since, and went to an acting high school, like, Fame, that show. Went to a high school like that for 2 years. Studied acting with other high schoolers every single day for the entire afternoon. I went to an acting intensive summer program in Massachusetts with Shakespeare and Company, a really strong, renowned acting program where they, every summer, accept like 20 high schoolers from around the country to do their acting program. And it's just like, it's a deep and wide dive into Shakespeare, and I was fortunate to be selected before my senior year of high school and just had the time of my life, changed my life. Up until then, I felt like I was pretending, and at that point, I felt an actor. And then, oddly enough, that was almost the end of my acting for a while, because I graduated high school and I was focusing on film and directing. Went to college a few years late, studied film all through college, but then my senior year of college missed acting so much that I did a bunch of theater classes my senior year just because I loved it. And then when I shot Fair a couple years ago and acted in it, starred in it, that really relit the love for film acting, and I've sort of been pursuing it ever since. I've done a bunch of commercials in the last few years, did a friend's independent film, had a big role in that, and just, man, the week I spent on that was just probably the highlight of my week. My highlight of my year. Last year, we shot that in Atlanta. Can't wait for that to come out. It's not out yet. The freest I feel when I'm not directing is acting, and would like to do more of it. Like to be on other people's sets. And I'm pretty good about just doing my thing if I'm on another person's set as a director, even if I'm like second guessing their directing chops. I kind of can, I don't know if I should, maybe I can't speak for other directors. Maybe I'm a little prickly. I definitely bring a lot as an actor to the roles. I come in with ideas, and I come in with like a perspective, and definitely love working with a director to shape it, to hone it. But a role is like clay, and I get to be the first kind of molder of that clay, I think, as an actor. And the best directors can really steer me in a certain way, or if my choices are appropriate, they just let me go. I'm the kind of actor who will just kind of go for it. In fact, I got cast in a pretty big movie this summer. I ended up having to withdraw because we couldn't make the schedule work. But I walked into the audition with a perspective on the role that I knew was a little different than what they were thinking. But I thought it'd be more interesting. And before I even auditioned, the director started telling me about the role and how I should play it, which don't do as a director if you're auditioning. Let the actor bring their thing first. And I listened, and I smiled, and I said, okay, that's great. I can do that. I've been trying an idea. I've been playing with it a little bit. Let me try my idea first. So I did it. And then they kind of just sat there, and they looked at each other, and they were like, wow, I'd never thought of the character like that. That's really good. That's good. That's good. And from then on, we just like did a few more takes, and I did kind of their version, but they kind of liked my version better. And a few weeks later, I got the role. So it shows that as an actor, if you trust your ideas, then and they're good ones, or they're appropriate for the material, then maybe it's something that can work. Now, I didn't end up doing the film, like I said, because of scheduling conflicts. And who knows? Maybe my performance would have been completely off tone. You've seen those films where you're like, what is that actor doing? Is he in the same movie as all these other actors? And that's the job of the director, to sort of be like, that's an amazing acting choice, actor, but it's completely off tone with the rest of the movie. Here's the movie we're making. Here's the world it's living in. You need to be within that world. And a good actor, hopefully, will kind of see that and be like, oh, I got you. Yeah. My choice for this role was completely off. And I think that's the first rule of directing actors. It's just creating the world for the actor to live in and having lengthy discussions about the world, the tone, the character, all of the things to build the world that the character will embody, so that the actor can sort of absorb all of that and then just be and just react and say the lines, knowing all of sort of that is, already thought through and already discussed. I also think directing actors is about environment, talking through the character, building the world. That's all prep. That's all discussions. That's not stuff that should be happening on the day, on shooting. If you have rehearsal, it can be filled with just conversations. It doesn't have to necessarily be going beat by beat through lines, making acting choices. It can. I like doing that as an actor. I like doing that as a director. I'm okay not doing both of those things too. But those things should not be coming up on the day. You can definitely try different options and different ideas, but if you're having conversations about the tone and the world of the film on the day, man, then you're really asking for a lot of wasted time at best, and just really off-tone, inappropriate acting at worst. But there's also something about creating an environment for your actors as a director, because acting's really, I was going to say hard. It can be hard. It can be really easy if you're completely opened up as an actor, if you feel safe, if you feel vulnerable, if you're in an environment where you understand everyone is there for the same reasons, you've got your lines memorized. Nothing frustrates me more as a director than an actor whose lines aren't memorized, because you can't control a lot as an actor. You cannot control most things as an actor. You can't even control your performance to a degree, because the editor can completely mess it up. The one thing you can control is your lines, is the memorization of your lines. But if you've had your script for like more than a week, you should be off book. Anyway, environment. If I feel like I am safe and I understand my lines and I'm just opened up, then acting is easy, because it's just being, it's just reacting. It's letting the emotions just sit here that you can access at any time. If the environment is not safe, if people are running around screaming, or the director's just like, no, you're wrong, just killing my confidence, or just completely butting heads, or if I see a safety issue where, someone's not being treated correctly, or we're rushing, so it's like show up and do the thing. If all of those things contribute to environment, and if that environment is compromised, then acting can be really hard. Because then I'm either showing up and just pretending, like the emotional reservoir that I've had right here that I can tap into, that just gets pushed down to here because I'm clamming up, I'm getting in my own head, I'm seeing, safety hazards, or we're rushed and it's like, we got to do this in one take, and I'm just like, it's going to take me a few takes to find the emotion, especially like if you got to cry. Like, I can cry if the emotional scene needs it, or if the lines feel true, but I can't do it. I can't cry on the first take. Like, that's just not how my body chemistry works. But I can do a few back to back, and I can kind of get the emotions rising, and then the dam can open up, and I can do that. But that environment isn't always there for the actor. It's the director who really controls that. So as a director, I think a lot about environment and safety, emotional safety for my actors, and creating a very emotionally safe place where we can all try things, we can all fail, where we're not rushed. There's also a lot of instances where you're directing actors who just aren't as experienced, who aren't as free and open. You see this in commercials a lot, just by the nature of how quick they are or how short they are. And I direct those actors a lot differently. You don't necessarily have the time to sort of talk about things like environment or find the take, find the scene, safety. So then you're really just trying to find the truth in the dialogue. And that can happen, or I sometimes can achieve that by just keeping the camera running and having them do a line, do a whole scene. Say it's a one-page scene with 2 actors there, do the whole thing. All right, back to 1, try this. Do the whole scene again. Back to 1, try this. And giving directions that are binary, like faster, slower, louder. All right, do it the same speed, but take out all the pauses in between the words. And sometimes that can just really improve sort of the pace and the feel of a scene. All right, do it again, but now overlap on your dialogue. Just trying really binary directions like that, rather than just really esoteric things like, okay, just think about this moment. And some of that can just be really spinning wheels and is not really appropriate all the time in an environment or with certain actors. And then sometimes if I think of the scene and I'm like, all right, we got half the lines, but this one line still feels wrong. If a line feels false, if you just don't buy it, it usually has to do with the writing. But if the writing's there and the actor just isn't understanding what he or she is saying, then sometimes I'll just drill down on a line. All right, give me that line again. Try this. All right, one more time like this. And I don't do line readings necessarily. Usually don't have to. Once in a while I will, but I'll usually just do the repetition because then that just gets it out of their head. Usually actors we get inside our head too much, and we just have to embellish every word, and each word in a sentence gets its own inflection, and then it's just repetition can beat that out of us. Do it quicker. Throw it away. Just throw it away under your breath. Just do it like we're rehearsing. Just do it again. Do it again. And then it's like, okay, and then when in there, you finally start to hear the truth, and it feels natural, and it feels real. And then it's a lot more of a pain to edit, but at least, you have sort of the dialogue. I don't do that. I don't like directing actors like that, but sometimes it's necessary, especially on shorter form projects, like I said. Man, that's a lot on acting. Gosh, I could talk about this forever. We'll leave it there and maybe talk more another time. Directing actors, acting for directors.